What do people think when they hear the name Keiji Inafune? Nowadays, it's that he either had some hand in the creation of Mega Man, or that he was responsible for Mighty No. 9 and the controversy surrounding it. As of the last couple of years, it's been more of the latter. Now, there's a lot of information out there that people have long been aware of. Everything from the year-and-a-half of delays to get the game out on every console imaginable, to the drama behind a certain ex-community manager. But the thing that has really stood out to me has been the game's design itself. Let me just say that no amount of polish, improved visuals, or better writing and voice acting could ever make up for the core level design and mechanics that are in the final game's release. Why is it that the game just feels so fundamentally flawed? I myself was not following the Mighty No. 9 Kickstarter campaign very extensively when it was first put online 3 years ago, so rummaging through all the old updates about the game's progress has been interesting to say the least. When I played Mighty No. 9 on release day, start to finish, on a whim, I was confused about how a game with so much time and budget could result in having such uninteresting level design, especially considering all of the Mega Man veterans who had worked on the game. Tons of straight passages followed by awkward platforming sections are common, with the core gameplay centering around racking up combos for a higher score, which feels like a desperate attempt to make the levels and enemy placement seem less poor. Once I actually finished the game, I decided to study up on the original Kickstarter campaign, specifically the very first post which pitched the project. Transformation. It would have been Beck's ability to not only gain powers from the other Mighty No. robots, but also turn himself into various forms to suit different situations. I had no memory of hearing this term whatsoever, and it was noticeably absent from the final game. Now, one missing mechanic wouldn't normally bother me, but the ability to transform is made out to be a major aspect of the game, and yet, on the Kickstarter page, it sounds like something that they're not even sure how to implement. His limbs might become giant magnets, enabling him to walk up walls or rip away enemy shields. Or maybe, extendable spring-loaded hands would allow him to activate faraway switches to work as a grappling hook. Or he could have a tank-like body, crossing over spikes and pushing objects around the levels. These are just a few possibilities we're considering. The game is still in the design phase, but you get the idea. This is where I start to have a lot of problems with Mighty No. 9's initial pitch, and it makes me curious about what Inafune was thinking at the start of his campaign. It's not uncommon for a game in development to go through many unique iterations, experimenting with various mechanics and gameplay styles to find out what works best. But rarely do I see a title completely drop a large aspect of its gameplay from the final game after promoting it. In this case, it wasn't just about promoting this concept, but also using it as a selling point in order to get people to back this game that's not even technically in development. I get the feeling that there was a lot of confidence, a lot of ambition that went into Mighty No. 9, and reading through the Kickstarter page only helps promote the idea that Inafune thought this was going to be very simple, that with his team and the funds from the project, everything would be just fine. From what I can gather, they wasted a lot of time and money tinkering with these ideas after the money rolled in and they got put on the clock. In the end, they got nothing out of it, which is apparent since transformations are absent from the final game. But again, this isn't just a small extra mechanic. Transformations were made out to be something that could influence level design, adding unique situations and creative thinking to the player's interaction with each new environment. But what's left comes across as whatever they could scrounge together. There's no creativity to speak of, both in their designs as well as how the player chooses to interact with them. Instead, emphasis is put on Beck's ability to dash, and how it's used to finish off enemies after they're stunned to rack up combos. An existing mechanic, the dash, was given more uses to liven things up, but instead caused the opposite. Players are left with a scoreboard to improve and not much else, just bland, uninspired stages to run through. Even cells, which Beck can pick up from enemies, were a concept that was shown in the first Kickstarter post. But unlike the original idea that had Beck gaining different attack powers to, quote, add depth and strategy to the action, they simply act as generic power-ups for things like speed and health. When there are so many good Mega Man games to pull inspiration from, when there are so many people on Inafune's team who worked on past Mega Man games, I'm left feeling shocked that the game can feel so shallow, like a Mega Man ripoff rather than a tribute. I honestly think that transformations and their absence from this game played a key part in reducing everything down to what we have now, and ultimately making the game itself feel rushed. Now, I am not a game developer, and I understand that game development can be very difficult. I can sympathize with Inafune and his team not having the funds required to put everything they wanted into Mighty No. 9's gameplay, even the 60% they took from the initial $4 million. Problems occurred, mechanics were scrapped, and those who were working on the game still had to be paid for that time. Not to mention that there was the early 2015 release date looming around the corner. So the game got turned into what they could make with the time or money that they had left, while still putting in the effort towards all the extra content funded by the stretch goals, such as the call level, online co-op, race modes, and even voice acting. Something that later Mega Man and Mega Man X games have proven that people don't really want. Much of what I've talked about is just speculation from my own perspective, but I feel like comparing the Kickstarter to the final game tells me a lot about what occurred during the game's first steps in regards to the basic design and mechanics. I'm led to believe that all of this is the result of overambition and poor planning. When Lab Zero Games announced their new crowdfunded project Indivisible, they premiered it with a playable demo. Not just a demo, but more importantly, a proof of concept. A statement to show that they, as a developer, are committed enough to put their own time and money into making something. Or, more importantly, showing that they can make something. And, quite frankly, Lab Zero has proven to us that they can follow through beautifully on crowdfunded projects such as Skullgirls, so the demo is just icing on the cake for them. If Inafune had presented a demo, or even a gameplay trailer for Mighty No. 9 that showcased everything that they said the game was going to have, we could potentially have a much better game on our hands today. But he was overconfident. He was more concerned with promoting and selling the idea of a new Mega Man-inspired game, rather than promoting a real game. The real game would come later after the money rolled in, but obviously things didn't go exactly as anticipated. As unfortunate as it is, Mighty No. 9 can at least serve as an example. An example of how words and ideas shouldn't necessarily be enough to sell. Presenting a crowdfunded game on the basis of maybes and what-ifs is simply not enough. A great man, Hideki Kamiya, one of my personal heroes in the gaming industry, once said, "He is a businessman, not a creator." Now, I don't mind Inafune being more of a businessman. I don't care if he pitched Mighty No. 9 to the world in the hopes that they would buy into him making a Mega Man game because of his name alone, which is, of course, what happened. If the game came out and was what everyone expected it to be, what we were told it would be, then no one would care about his motivations. Since things didn't go his way, people will go as far to say that Inafune is a straight-up con artist, a man who didn't care about what happened to the final project as long as he got paid. And I certainly do not think this is true, but it does help show that, yet again, a big name attached to a crowdfunded project does not mean everything is going to work out as it should. For you artists and developers out there who are looking to try out crowdfunding for your first project, just remember to plan ahead. You cannot account for every problem you might face during development, but you will surely create less of them.
But anyway, you were reading about Warhammer?
Yeah, orcs put dicks on their mechs.
Oh, dude, fuck yeah.
Like,
No, I wish I got in.
Specifically put dicks on their mechs.
What did I just come back to?
I was saying how I found out fucking orcs in 40k put dicks on their mechs. Just a reminder that orcs have survived literal universe-wide wars.
That's how. Don't hate. Appreciate.